All right, well, thanks again for joining us. So today we are going to talk about next level reporting, business intelligence, and how Nectari can help you and your organization with informed decision making. So today we have myself, Fairlie Anderson. I am with Nectari. I'm the Director of Business Development for Canada, and we have my colleague, Jasdeep, and he is our pre-sales engineer, and he's going to run through the demo for you. I'm going to go through a few slides myself, and we'll get going. So this is your agenda for the hour. We're going to go through an overview of the solution. We are going to try to show my screen properly. Is that you driving, Lane?
No, I'm hands off now. It's you.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. So we're just going to go through the solution overview. So at Nectari, we are the BI solution of choice for Sage Systems. We've been in business for 30 years. We have 2,900 customers. We do integrate with 12 Sage products. We sell into 60 countries, and we have 300 active partners. So Nectari, this is a bit of a mouthful, but is a comprehensive, intuitive, and scalable business intelligence and data management solution. So really, in short, what I'm saying there is that we are a business intelligence solution, and what we're going to go do, we're going to go through our solution for you today. And really, in short, what we are is a business intelligence solution. So we are going to go through your technical journey here. So really, what we do here is we start with managing your data. And with that, what we would do is pull all of your data into a data warehouse. And then from there, what we would do is gather all of your data sources. So we can pull from multiple data sources and bring everything into the data warehouse. And from there, what we will do is use a variety of tools and make sense of your data, gaining insight and visibility, empowering all users and collaborating securely. So we do have our new workbooks out, which is ad hoc reporting online. So what you can do is you do have the ability to operate in an Excel-like environment, and you won't need any Excel-type licenses. You will not have to have anything to do with, again, with Microsoft Excel. You can build your reports within the wizards, and we are unique in the market in that way that you are, again, operating in an Excel environment. Nectari for Sage Intacct. So we're going to get into what we do for Sage Intacct and how we can help. Sorry, did somebody have some questions? No? Okay, we're good to go. So why Nectari for Sage Intacct? So really, it's the ease of use and flexibility and giving you the access to your data without limits. So you're able to drill down, slice, dice, move your dimensions, and drill it down into the transaction level, which typically I believe with Intacct, you cannot get right into the transaction level. You can only just get into the top 3 levels. So lately we just released our NFP reporting templates. So this was exciting for me. I was able to announce this at the last Asyma event. And at that time, we had just actually released the actual dashboards. And now I can say that they were fully released with our latest release here just this past month in May. So we are good to go there, and we do have these ready and able and available for you. And then this is just really what we have here is a, sorry. Sorry, just having some technical difficulties there. So really what this is here is just a can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you, Fair.
Oh, apologies, Delaney. Sorry, I'm having some really bad difficulties here right now with my audio. Not really sure what's happening.
We're able to hear you perfectly, so don't worry.
Oh, you are? Okay, well, that's great. Awesome. Thank you so much. So what we have here is we have a testimonial from one of our customers. So basically, Hensel, what they had here is they had some issues and some challenges, obviously, with outdated software. They weren't having the visual representations that they would like to see. And really what it was they were only having one person to operate the system. So as we know, it obviously takes many more to run your system. And what we will do here is we will go through how we transform their reporting. So faster, more efficient reporting process. The check run is faster. They went from 1 day to 2 to 3 hours. Happy executives here at Hensel with the automated distribution of the weekly and daily reports. And they had their reduced month-end closing by at least 1 week or more. So that, in short, with some technical difficulties, was Nectari for Sage Intacct and the solution overview. So now what we're going to get into is SEI for Sage 300. So there's many reasons why Sage 300 users have chosen to go with SEI. So obviously multi-company consolidations, well, that's just exactly what it says there, is that we do have the ability to bring in from multi-companies and consolidate. We do have an SEI Excel add-in, which looks, feels, operates very similar to Excel. And again, that's in the workbooks that we showed you earlier. That was in the online system. We have fast loading times, optional fields, integration with AutoSimpli and Technosoft. So not sure if those two ring a bell for you guys, but AutoSimpli is a manufacturing solution and Technosoft is a service and fleet management solution. And then we have our easily conversion of our Sage Intelligence reports. So we actually have a conversion tool, and I'm just going to get into kind of the visual of that and how that works. So in 4 easy steps, you can convert your SI data into Sage Enterprise Intelligence. So if you are using Sage Intelligence right now with your Sage 300 reporting and your ERP, we can help you bring that to the next level. So obviously, as we've been saying, Nectari/Sage Enterprise Intelligence is a much more robust reporting solution than what we have with just Sage Intelligence, which is in the box out of Sage 300. So it gives you here the 4 easy steps of loading your data sources and mapping, selecting the reports and what you want to convert, converting your SI containers to the SI data models, SEI data models rather, and convert SI reports to your SEI reports. So here we have another story, another success story from one of our customers. So this is Mispro, which is a Sage 300 customer. And again, just much like the Intacct success story, is what you will see here is that it really just shortens the time for the month-end close. It brings all of the data from an enterprise into an enterprise view and helps you drill down into your cost centers and just really gives you that overall ease and flexibility of the solution. And that goes with both Sage 300 and Sage Intacct, as we've gone through here in these slides, with a few audio issues. So I do apologize for that. And I am going to move on over here to Jazz, and he's going to go through the live demo.
Thank you so much, Fairlie, for your beautiful slides. And now we'll go ahead and show everyone SCI and Nectari in action. So thank you everyone for joining us today, whoever is on the call today. I would just like to confirm if you can see my screen that I'm sharing right now.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So we will begin by having a look at Sage Enterprise Intelligence for Sage 300. So basically, it's exactly the same solution, be it Nectari for Sage Intacct or SCI. The only thing that we notice here is the difference of the name of the solution, because that's how it goes for different product lines of Sage. So first of all, Sage Enterprise for Sage 300, I'm going to go ahead and log in into our first platform, which is the web application. Because it's a solution which is offered on multiple platforms, if we missed telling you that. So right now we'll first have a look at the web application, and then of course to keep in mind we also have SCI fully fledged and functional in the Excel environment as well, which is called the Excel add-in. And what Fairlie was presenting to us and earlier in her slides is that we have recently moved from the Excel, keeping Excel still for the end users who would like to and love to work in Excel, but also giving them the opportunity to work with the new platform called Workbooks by remaining within the same web application, which I'm showing you right now. So we'll definitely discover and look more into the workbooks after as we proceed in the presentation. All right, so as I logged into the solution, we are taken directly into the command center where we have the many options for us to visualize our data, gain insights, and make meaningful decisions. So for example, the data models and views, the first option right here gives us the access to the out-of-the-box templates, which are delivered for Sage 300 here in this case. So if you notice the Sage 300 folder, these are all the different modules which are covered and delivered as a part of this offering. So you can notice very many modules like accounts payable, receivables, finance. On the operational side, we have the sales analysis, project and job costing, purchasing, inventory, order entry. So these are all the different modules which are covered. And if I expand some of these folders, for example, sales analysis, you will notice a whole bunch of different visualizations, reports, and graphs and charts, which are again delivered out of the box as a part of these templates. So this means that customers already have the advantage when they choose SCI or Nectari. They already have a very good starting point because they can start using these reports from the day one. So that kind of eliminates a lot of time to create and build these reports and tailoring them to their KPIs and dimensions that they are used to in Sage 300. Because what we're really doing is bringing all the data from Sage 300 or Sage Intacct and then delivering them these reports which are delivered out of the box. On top of that, we can also connect to other sources of data. So many times end users are not only using Sage 300 or Sage Intacct, but they all have other systems in place too, which could be their third-party application systems, legacy systems, any cloud-based applications, for example, CRM softwares, and so on and so forth. So SCI can definitely also connect to those sources of data, like Fairlie was mentioning in her slides earlier. This is achieved by our data management tool called Data Sync, where we have a variety of different connectors to connect to those sources and bring in the data, massage it, and even consolidate that information with your ERP data. All right, so now let's go ahead and open some of the out-of-the-box reports. I'll go into an example for sales on the Sage 300 side. And here I will explain how these reports really work. So it's very intuitive how the reports can be easily manipulated in SCI. For example, in the sales by item report that I just opened, we have the 3 shelves here on the top, which allow us to easily move and slice and dice the data. For example, in the groups, we only have first field, which is called the product code. And that in turn shows us the list of all the different products which are listed in the groups column right here. So I can scroll through this list of all the products which I have in my data set. Similarly, when customers plug in their data, they will be able to see all their product lines there. And then on the other side, we also have all these columns, such as customer name, document number, and all the KPIs associated, which are highlighted and represented right here in this report on this part of the on the right-hand side. Then we can further drill this down, each product code, to see the customers who bought that product, what was the document number or the invoice number attached with that, what was the quantity sold. So as you can see, we can really drill down to the details of each and every transaction to get more details about that product, for example. But if you would like to slice and dice this data by using other dimensions, we have the toolbar on the right-hand side. And there's one tool called Dimensions and Measures, which houses all the other key dimensions that we might want to bring into this report. Now, these could be based on the date. So if you want to bring in your transaction year, transaction period, we can simply grab that field and drag and drop that into our groups. And now you will notice the report reloads to show me the list of the fiscal periods, which I can further drill down to see what products were sold in period 2, for example. Similarly, we also have the measures on the side where we can bring in the currencies, the rates, the sales, net sales costs, and so on and so forth. And of course, all the other source currency items as well, which can again be simply dragged and dropped into this report. We can also very easily filter on the report as well. So let's say if I would like to see only the data for the first 3 fiscal periods. So I can simply select these 3 rows on the top, add them to the filter, and then further, now my report reloads to show me these filters. I can also remove some of the other options. For example, let's just get rid of the option right here. We already have the sales profit, so we'll keep it that way. And the next thing I can do is to bring in my fiscal period in pivot. Now this will give me a very different way of looking at the data, because now my data is pivoted and each period now becomes a column of its own. So I can keep my fiscal period side by side and do the analysis of my data that way. So a lot of flexibility there when it comes to slicing and dicing, moving things around, picking the dimensions and measures of your own choice, and then really gaining insights on the data with this flexibility. Now, we also have a lot of other out-of-the-box reports as well with Sage 300, of course, on the financial side too. But the universal data model also offers us many industry-standard reports like income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, so on and so forth. Let's have a look at that one too. Another nice feature which can be set up for each report is what we are seeing right now on the screen, which is called the selection page, where I can easily predefine the filters like fiscal year, fiscal period, company code, and see the information. Also to mention that with Sage 300, because many customers are having multiple companies set up in their environments, so all those companies' data can be consolidated together and brought into these reports. So they can see one full picture of their entire business by consolidating those companies. And here is an example of an income statement where we have a nice structure of the income statement already: sales, cost of goods sold, expenses, which again, following the same principle as we saw before, we are drilling down to different levels of details depending on what fields follow the other one. So it's very intuitive that way. So now we are looking into the account codes. If I further drill down on one of the account codes, I will be able to see all the document numbers attached with that transaction. And on this other side right here, we have the different KPIs. So if I go in to show you the list of all the KPIs which are delivered, the value they add is immense, because we have all these calculations already out of the box, like variance percentages, year-to-date calculations, rolling 12, actual versus budget mix. So these are all the KPIs that users can use without having to create all of them from the scratch. So if I just quickly bring in here, rolling 12, so you will be able to notice there's a new column which gets added right here. And what's further even nicer about this is that we can even add more aesthetic touches to these reports by using the column formatting options. So if I right click on the rolling 12, use column formatting and add it, we will be able to see how quickly we can change the color of these columns on the fly. In the preview, we can even see the color that's going to be applied, and here we have that, right? Further, we can add some conditional formatting on these reports as well. So for example, if I would like to highlight the negative figures, and this is a smaller report, but if you have a really large item report where you have many row items and account codes listed in the report, you can use conditional formatting to really bring out the important information. For example, all the negative numbers. So if I bring in this, really defining a condition here that if my rolling 12 is less than 0, for example, I can choose an icon of my choice. I can even use the background color or the color of the font itself, and then see that change right on the report here. So many formatting options there as well when it comes to sharing and distribution. And sharing and distribution is a big part of these reports as well. So if you go in there, sharing, we have many options. So I can export this exact report in a format of my choice, like PDF, Excel, CSV. And then what we can further do with this is send a comment as well. So if I've noticed some important information that needs to be highlighted, for example, all these numbers right here, I can add annotations like I just did, even add text to add any comments in there, and send a direct email to my colleagues. And all the remarks that I create will be attached and sent out. What's also nice about distribution the capabilities of SCI is that we can set up the consolidated reports. The end result of that is a reporting pack that we can share with our teams, both inside and outside the organization, or even share that with the board of directors, for example, where these reporting packs can be created by selecting our own bunch of reports. So let's say if I filter on finance, I see all the list of financial reports that I have in my SCI environment. And then I can go ahead and add some aesthetic touches to that, give it a nice name, add a cover page to that where users can even add their company logos, add dynamic variables, and give a formal description to the document. And then add the table of contents, which will list all these reports for them. And finally, set the schedule of how often and when exactly would they like these reports to be distributed. So let's say at 9 a.m. every Monday of the week, hit save, and then the end result would be something like this, where they have logo of their choice. Here I'm using Nectari to show you. And then you will have a table of contents followed by nice dashboards with all the KPIs and all the financial statements put together in one PDF file. So that's the distribution and sharing capabilities. Not to forget to mention that we also have the conditions tab where important conditions can be set up and different KPIs can be set up to track the movement of the products, for example, or even if we are talking about the actuals versus budget. If our actuals go over the budget amount, we can set that up as a condition so that we can receive a notification if that occurs as an event, and then we can take care of that there and then. So that's on the distribution and sharing side. With the universal data model, we also have the ability to create financial budgets and sales forecasts within SCI. We are not a budgeting tool to begin with, but we do offer some basic functionality, which also, of course, definitely does help some of the customers whose reporting needs in terms of their budgeting are not too advanced. So with the budget module, what we can really do is to create budgets by month or by quarter by simply bringing the numbers from the existing data. So let's say I'm using my 2023 numbers to create a 2024 budget. I can come into SCI and use these reports and use the pre-built algorithms. So if I'm trying to create a new budget, I have up to 5 different methods that I can use to apply as an algorithm. So let's say if I'm trying to create a budget for 2024, I choose the first method as percentage increase on the last year posting, and I'm expecting a 15% increase. So this 15% increase simply applies to the last year, which is 2023, to give me the new budget for 2024. And that's how the budget gets loaded. And then we can further come into these reports and manipulate those numbers by adding any manual tweaks, because these reports right here, which I will show you right now, they allow us to do the manual data entry on these reports. So it will just load in a few seconds, and there we go. So we have this budget sheet based on the balance sheet format, where I can simply go into each individual cell. But not to forget, these numbers that we are seeing right now on this report are already highlighting the 15% increase that has been applied. But on top of that, I can go ahead and change the numbers if needed for any specific account code, and I can see the changes applied. Then I can go ahead and save changes, send it for the approval, and my budgets are ready to be compared against the actuals using SCI. And all the visualizations, of course, that would come with it. So let's have a look at all the visualizations that we have out of the box. By visualizations, you can create each specific visualization, a specific chart, a graph from your existing data, and then you can further put them all together in a form of a dashboard, something that we are looking at right now, where we have pre-built dashboards like this. Again, just like the reports. So we are looking at a CFO dashboard with many KPIs like gross margin, operating income, so on and so forth. And on the top, we have even the filtering panel where we can go and make selections on different fiscal periods, different dimensions, and change the data based on our selections on the top. Just like the reports that we saw, these dashboards are also fully customizable, which means I can simply go in and the edit mode and remove the visualizations that I might want to replace with something else. So let's go into an income statement right here again. I can simply grab that report and drag and drop that into this empty space. And now I can see the income statement as a part of this dashboard. So we do have very customizable dashboards. You can change the existing dashboards as an end user, but you can also create your own reports from the scratch and even these dashboards as well. All right, so we are half an hour into the presentation, and I wanted to show you some very high-level information on the Sage 300 environment. Of course, there are many reports on Sage 300 specifically. On the operational side, like I said, we have the inventory reports, purchasing, project and job costing, and not to forget the Sage 300 users who might be using other tools like AutoSimply and Service Manager. We have the out-of-the-box reports for those modules as well. Now, let's switch to the Nectari for Sage Intacct, as we have that conversation as well. So this is my Intacct environment, Nectari for Sage Intacct environment. And now we will have a look at all the important reports that are delivered and tailored to Sage Intacct. All right, I'll just give it a couple of seconds to load. All right, so now we are in the Sage Intacct environment of Nectari. Again, if I open the Sage Intacct environment, we have, like I explained before, these are all, again, the out-of-the-box reports and templates, which are now, we are looking at the list of these templates delivered for Sage Intacct. So we have, again, the modules like general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, inventory, order entry, purchasing, projects, so on and so forth. So let's go into one of the example reports here, GL transaction detail. I can filter on some specific dimensions here, just so that my data loads rightly in the report. And now, again, the same principle. We have the group's fiscal period followed by the account IDs. So I know to what level I'm able to drill down on this report already. So if I go into the fiscal period 2, I can see the list of all the account IDs. I can further drill down on the account IDs to see each individual transaction information. So you're looking at your posting date, transaction type, batch titles, bracket numbers, and even the currencies involved in that transaction. What's really nice is that we can bring in these currencies as they exist within Sage Intacct and then create new currencies, such as, you can create reporting currencies based on the transaction and base currencies that we are already pulling from Sage Intacct. And we have specific fields for those reporting currencies. So if I go into the measures folder right here, and then we have the measure called reporting amount. And as you can see, it is in CAD. So what is really going to happen is that when I'm drilling down to see my currencies in USD, I will also be able to now see the reporting currency right next to it, which is showing me the amount in Canadian. So that's something which is set up in Nectari to help users create reporting currencies of their choice, and not limited to only one currency. Of course, they can constantly change the reporting amounts and currencies to INR or any other specific currencies that they would like to see. And these are all set up within Nectari. Let me just quickly show you how that is actually set up. So if I go in Sage Intacct environment, we have the specific data model built for that within Nectari, which is the currency rates data model. And as you will notice, the current reporting currency here for me, which I'm using right now, is Canadian, and followed by that is a transaction currency. So my Canadian is either getting its data from INR or from USD. In my case, I have set it up for using that USD currencies and applying these 3 different types of currency rate exchanges. So I'm using either spot rate or average rate and even non-financial rate for the non-financial reports, because these currency rates can be even applied to operational reports as well, like sales, inventory, so on and so forth. So just to keep in mind, these currency rates go not only for financials, but they can be applied everywhere from all the other modules of Sage Intacct as well. So this is really their setup. We can constantly come here and change the currency rates and even add new currencies as our base currencies or transaction currencies and change them to the desired reporting currency, which is Canadian in this example. Now, talking about all the other reports, of course, they have the same principle as we saw before. We have plenty of reports on sales analysis, inventory control, and so on and so forth, all catering to the needs of the Sage Intacct clients who need these kind of reports. But also, what we have recently developed, like Fairlie mentioned in her slides, is the NFP reports. So let me quickly change my environment to NFP, and that's where I can show you what we have out of the box for the NFP reports now. So I'll go there, non-for-profit. So these are some of the reports that we have created for NFP, but what they will be best shown through is in the form of dashboards. So let's go into the non-for-profit dashboards. So we have been having many requests from the clients who are from the NFP environment. Their needs are different. There's very specific naming conventions that they use for their businesses, or for the business, in fact, for their organizations, and such as programs, the revenues, the grants and commissions, so on and so forth. So they have very specific needs in terms of their reportings. So we have, as a team, been working on understanding those needs, and these dashboards are now a result of all that analysis that we have done closely with those NFP clients. So in this dashboard, for example, we can really track the revenues, the expenditures, the net assets, program efficiencies, expenses, clients served, cost per client, so on and so forth. We can also now use the filters on the top for these specific dashboards to go into a project and choose a specific project of the choice. For example, if I choose the first one, disaster relief health tomorrows, apply that filter, and that readily changes the data for me on this dashboard for me. And now all we are looking at on this dashboard is the figures associated with the project 100 that I just selected. We can always come back and clear the filter to see the overall picture of the organization with all the programs running. And what's nice is that once we are on these dashboards, we can always come and change these dimensions or these visualizations on the fly. So for example, this bar chart right here, which is showing me the information on different funds, I can come in here and change the visualization of this chart. So if I want to see it not in the form of a chart, but something specific, so I have an option to choose it from the bar charts through to any other advanced charts that I might want to use. But in this example, let's just pick a pie chart as an example. So as you can see, I can come on the fly and change these visualizations right within the dashboard. And then I can simply hover onto them to have a different view of the same bar chart that we were looking at earlier. There's also another example of a dashboard right here, fundraising efficiency. So here again, we are measuring a lot of different KPIs, revenues, the active donors ratio versus the donation metrics, fundraising KPIs, and these KPIs include the expense ratios and the efficiency ratios for each fundraising item. So just another example of a dashboard for the NFPs. Now let's switch to the second platform of SCI, or we can also call it Nectari, which is the Excel add-in, like I was telling you earlier. So this is the Excel, Microsoft Excel. And if I go into the add-ins on the top, we have all the different options, the different tools which are delivered out of the box with the SCI's Excel add-in. So all the reports that we are seeing here, financial analysis, income statement, balance sheet, these are all built using the tools here on the top, which are delivered with SCI/Nectari. So just to give you a quick overview, I won't spend too much time on this part because there's even nicer feature I would like to show you right after this. So what we're really doing in Excel is like to create an income statement report like we're seeing on the screens. What we first of all need is the list of different account codes. So all these lists here under sales, for example, is pulled using the tool called data extraction, where I'm picking the data model of my choice. My environment is production, and I'm bringing in the account codes, applying the filter on the sales. So that's why I'm seeing the list of these accounts under sales. If I go further down, I will be able to see how this filter can be set up for each specific category. So here, if I go in the cost of sales, oops, there we go. All right, so this one right here, if I go back in data extraction, we will notice that now the filter is being applied on cost of goods sold. So that's how these account codes are being pulled from the worksheet, from in fact a database into the worksheet, and then we can further build different calculations on the cells here using tools such as Formula Visit, where we are again picking the data model of our choice. Based on the data model selection, we are able to bring in the list of different fields that we would want to use. In this case, I'm using ledger posting, of course, and then the tool also gives us a list of different operations that we can choose from to apply those calculations, and further selecting different filters by simply mapping these fields like fiscal year, fiscal period, ledger code directly from the cells in the spreadsheet. As you can see, now this is coming from the cell B11 as a ledger code, and that's what is being applied to get to this calculation in the cell. So tools like this, which help us create these reports, so we do not really need intensive Excel knowledge when it comes to using SCI within Excel. And as I was saying, I was not going to spend too much time here on this other than giving you a brief overview of this tool. But what we will rather do is to come back into our web environment, where we will now have the similar Excel-like environment within the web application. So let me open this report like profit and loss using the workbooks option. Now the workbooks is the new tool, new functionality, which we now can use within the web to create the Excel-like reports while remaining within the same platform. And let me change my environment here again to production so my data can load. All right, so it's on the run. All right, and as you can see, the first glance, what I was showing you before in Excel, and now we are in the web environment of Nectari using the workbook. So there's very starking similarity between the two platforms. It's basically very much like Excel, and we have all the functionalities that we are used to in Excel. For example, right here, if I go in the home button screen, we have, let me quickly go ahead and reopen this one. I believe there's something not right with the data set. Let me quickly confirm this. All right. Well, we have month to date here empty, but that's not an issue. It's just a matter of what we are seeing in the data at the moment. But what is important to focus on here in this report is all the different functionalities that I was talking about that we are used to in Excel. And then we can easily bring in different visualizations, add different formulas, data, and most importantly, our own development of these products in the analysis tab, like Formula Visit, data extraction that we just saw in Microsoft Excel, and keep using these within the web. Let's go into the year to date as an example, and we will see in the Formula Visit how this was calculated. So we are using the data model of our choice, field posting right here, base posting, and then we are again selecting a bunch of different filters to apply them as a part of this calculation to get to these numbers in the cells. Further, what we can do is to use the tools such as drill down. So here it gives me the entire list of transactions which add up to this amount of 5 million. So if I expand it a little bit on this side, as you can see, there's a new pane that opens on the right hand side for me, which I can open and see all the transactions associated with the amount. And if I scroll down all the way to the bottom, we will see the exact same amount that we see in the cell right here, along with also the link such as this one right here, transaction detail, which takes me back into Sage Interact environment. So talking about the integration, this is what we can really do with the Nectari, is to use a Sage Interact data within Nectari, and if ever needed, we can click on the hyperlinks which take us directly back into Sage Interact environment, and we can continue processing and just looking at our transactions in a much more meaningful way by coming back into Sage Interact. Talking about embeddedness as well, we can embed the full application of Nectari within Sage Intacct as well. So here I am going to the dashboards, and you can see the Nectari very nicely opens up in Sage Intacct environment, where I can go and open any of the dashboards. Here, for example, any of the web reports, even the workbooks that we were just looking at, we have the full access to the application within the Sage Intacct environment. So here's an example of me opening a dashboard for you all within the Sage Intacct. Also, just to show you what we have on the side, if I want to now go into my balance sheet from the workbook side, I can easily access that as well. So basically what now we can do as end users, we do not even need to go into Excel, because if we already have an environment like this, which is fully embedded within Sage Intacct, we can easily just run these reports while remaining within our Sage Intacct environment. So as you can see, we will now have access to this balance sheet while remaining within Sage Intacct environment. All right, so that would be it from my side, and I will pass it back to Fairlie if she has any more slides to add, any more thoughts to add, and we can of course definitely open the floor to any questions.
Thanks, Jazz. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. Jazz, thank you very much. If we could open it up for questions. If there are any questions, please feel free to jump in. Jazz, are you seeing any questions? I am not.
Let me quickly check.
I see one question here. It says, does Nectari have more capability with SEI than Sage Intacct? I think they might be 300. I'm not sure.
Well, in terms of capabilities, we can definitely talk about how Nectari is a differentiator in terms of the reporting that we already have from Sage Intacct, for example. First of all, the thing is that we can easily drill down to different levels of details. When we are doing the global consolidations, for example, within Sage Intacct, we are losing the transaction level detail in those reports. Whereas in Nectari, we can really drill down to all those details within the reports, even after doing the global consolidations. Secondly, what I was mentioning earlier in my demo was that we can easily bring in the base currency rates and transaction rates as they exist within Sage Intacct and build new reporting currencies based on those. So that all can be managed within Nectari. And not to forget all the out-of-the-box templates which are tailored to Sage Intacct. They are a very good starting point for many, many customers, and now even including our NFP clients who can take advantage of these out-of-the-box reports with pre-built KPIs, so they can really have a good starting point and start gaining insights from their own data.
Great. Any other questions, Lee?
I think that's it.
All right, well, that wraps up our webinar for today. We will ensure that we get the presentation publicized and share that with Rob and the team over at Asyma as well, and all of the attendees. So thank you very much for attending, and we look forward to catching you on our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.